Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick warning and some information before we begin. Today's first story touches on the subject of child abuse, so if that is a topic that makes you uncomfortable, you might want to skip the first story. And the information is that today we have two stories, and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Lame Login Name. My 22 female mother, 40s female, threatened to disown me over my wedding. Long story short, my dad, 40s, was military and was deployed for 8 years total during my childhood. He constantly yelled and screamed at me, and on a few occasions he hit me. A few months ago we had it out and I confronted my parents about all of this. He apologized and said he didn't remember, and my mom backed me up. But then on Sunday, she texted my fiance saying that if my dad isn't invited or anyone else walks me down the aisle, they will not attend and will cut me out of their lives. And she told my fiance not to tell me anything about the message, which of course he promptly told me about. I've never thought about cutting my dad out of my wedding, but I will not have him walk me down the aisle. I won't pretend we're a sweet, happy family and that my dad and I are super close. I'm also not doing a father-daughter dance, although my fiance wants a mother-son dance. Do I confront them about this ultimatum? I'm worried that if I let them dictate what I do to keep them in my life, the demands will never stop. Well, OP, I want to say happy problem. I mean, of course, your parents suck, particularly your dad, because, yeah, what he did, gross. That's not discipline, that's horror. So on that front, good for you for finally confronting them. I hope you feel as alleviated as you should when you got that off your chest. And you are absolutely right, OP. It is your and your future husband's wedding, nobody else's. So if you wanna hop down the aisle or even ride the new Nimbus 2022, that's up to you. If you don't want your dad to walk you down the aisle, that is your decision to make, and I think you've already made it. So how do you confront your parents about their ultimatum? You don't. You just keep planning your wedding according to what you want. And just send your mom a message. You don't even need to call her, acknowledging that you know what she tried to do by sending your fiance a message, and just tell her that your dad will not be walking you down the aisle, and that if they choose not to attend your wedding because of it, that's absolutely fine. OP, your parents are not a positive presence in your life. Do you really want to keep them around? Do you really want to give in to their demands just to keep a bad presence in your life? I don't think so. I think you should consider taking their word and just go no contact. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Claude says, clearly she picked sides. Don't give in to her, just send her a message. Person, nobody will be walking me down the aisle at my wedding. I am sorry if this means you will not be attending. Please let me know so that I may alter my attendance numbers accordingly. Or something similar. Acknowledge it, just so you have prior knowledge of how she's going to behave. You want to be prepared for crazy, but don't get emotional and don't give in. Getting mad at her, getting upset with her, and trying to compromise with her will only feed the problem. I suspect that she won't go through with the ultimatum. Slinky999 says, my parents also threatened to disown me at my first wedding. I called them on it and told them if they did that, then I would scale down the wedding and pay for it myself. They relented, after ranting at me for an hour about what a terrible daughter I was and how I was always a disappointment to them. It is no wonder I live 2,600 miles away from them and contact them only the bare minimum possible. OP, you are an adult. You don't need to be controlled, manipulated, and bullied by your parents anymore. They are freaking out because they are losing control over you and are trying to maintain that with threats and manipulation. Stay strong. None of this is your fault and you don't deserve it. If you haven't already, I would suggest therapy for you to heal from your upbringing and find your strength and self-esteem. You and your future husband deserve to have you at peace, whatever that may look like. Good luck to you. Deleted says, if you don't want to make a stand at your wedding, just don't have anyone walk you down the aisle. You don't have anyone in your post that is going to fill in that position. If you want your parents there, which seems iffy, then just tell her, no one is walking me down the aisle. Do I confront them about this ultimatum? Yes, if you want to. It depends on the sort of relationship you want with your parents. The balls on your mom are huge though. After you call her to say you feel your dad is abusive, she then demands he walk you down the aisle? Normal people would be like, I don't remember this, but we need to repair the relationship, not walk with him down the aisle to make him feel more powerful. Personally, if you have no one else you want to walk you down the aisle, then maybe just tell her that and see what happens. And Opie responds, I don't have anyone else to walk me down the aisle. I never even mentioned the possibility of having anyone else do it. I'm not sure where this idea is coming from. Additional information from Opie's comments. I have no desire to hurt or help my dad. If he decided not to come to the wedding, I wouldn't care. However, my fiance won't budge on the mother-son dance, and I refuse to do one with my dad. I was thinking of having the announcement that the groom wanted to honor his mother, blah blah blah, seeing the last of her children get married. Something along those lines. So it seems he's doing something special instead of me not doing something. Now, my parents are not paying for anything in our wedding. Initially, they offered to give us what they gave my sister, but now my mom is saying that she never agreed to that. She offered to do the invitations and that I was supposed to see a sample 2 months ago, and I still haven't. Then, yesterday she called me about how she wanted to do another craft project for my wedding and didn't mention anything about her conversation with my fiance. Also, if my parents decide not to come, it's doubtful they'll show up and make a scene since they live 900 miles away. Alright, well, the community is pretty much aligned. It is OP's decision and whatever she wants to do goes, and that she also should be wary regarding the relationship with their parents. And then OP's context just evidence that their parents are ridiculous. Anyways, it's time to move on to the update to see how this story ends, but before that, of course, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on to the update. Since crap recently hit the figurative fan, I thought I would give an update. So, the week following my mother texting my fiance and saying no one else had better walk me down the aisle, I calmly brought it up when talking to her on the phone. So, Mom, what is this about no one other than Dad can walk me down the aisle? Her response actually was, you weren't supposed to know that. I told her that I knew and that I found it a little ridiculous that she would expect my fiance to keep a secret from me. And then I said, but here's the thing. Dad will not walk me down the aisle. I will not pretend that we have a great relationship, nor do I like the idea of being his possession that he's giving away. I don't know where this idea that someone else would walk me down the aisle came from, but it's not true. She said she had the idea that maybe my future father-in-law would walk me down the aisle, and I told her that she wasn't making any sense, and I asked her why she never brought it up with me if she was really this upset, and she said, I didn't want to bring it up until it became an issue. Whatever, so everything is fine, a misunderstanding. Everything can be put behind us, right? Nope. Last week, I was talking to her on the phone. Ever since she texted my fiance, she's been calling at least every 2 days, and I've been avoiding her calls because, hey, I'm still kinda upset. So she brings this walk down the aisle thing up again, with a really subtle comment. You're going to have to tell us what style suit or tuxedo or colors you want the boys to wear so we can get your brother and dad their suits. I did not understand what was going on, so I said, wait, I thought only my brother would need to get dressed up since he's the ring bearer. We're not being super fancy, so the families don't have to get all dressed up. And that's when she hits me with this line. Well, your dad will need to match the groomsmen since he's walking you down the aisle. What? Oh, hell no. I firmly told her, Dad is not walking me down the aisle. No one is. And again, my mother outdid herself, saying, well, I thought you would have reconsidered. This is a real slap in the face to your father. I couldn't take it anymore and told her, really? This is a slap in the face to the man who has literally slapped me in the face? She tried to brush me off, saying that she didn't remember that ever happening and that I needed to consider how rude I was being to my dad. He's tried to have a relationship with you and all you do is spit it back in his face. By the way, this man has not called me in 14 months. I checked my phone logs, no texts either. On the other hand, I've been making an effort as my mother likes to encourage me since I was 15. Our conversation ends shortly after and I'm weirded out. I can't honestly believe that she actually thought my dad would be walking me down the aisle. Now, on Thursday, I got an email from our venue asking if there were any problems because my mother had called and demanded a refund and the cancellation of our date. They didn't give it to her, obviously, because the contract is in our name and we paid for it, not her. She has no pennies in the wedding pot. I called her, and it ended up with her telling me how disappointed she is in me, how disrespectful I am, and how I'll grow up and realize that I'm being an ungrateful bitch for all that they've done for me. After all, they could have just drowned me in the tub when I was little. She actually said that, but it's not strange to me. This was something my parents always told me when I misbehaved. So I grew up to things like, I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it. I'm the mother and no one would blame me. But now I know that's not right. My fiance was right next to me when she said it and ended up taking the phone, calmly telling her never to contact us again and hanging up. He called my father and left a message saying the same thing. They are uninvited from the wedding and my sister is supporting my decision and ignoring most of their calls, except to check on our little brother. And all of our vendors know that only my fiance and I have any say in anything. So that's it. When I get married, I will lose my biological parents, but gain a kick-ass family on my fiance's side. Thanks everyone! Well, OP, there's no other way to call it but a happy update. You dropped the toxic out of your life. Good for you. You know, there's so much I would like to say about your parents, but my classical get bent is just not gonna cut it. It is not enough. So let's equate the way I'm feeling to get bent times kicking rocks elevated to the power of F off. And here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing and take care. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Chopper86. My 30 male dog, 1 male, ate all of my girlfriend's 25 female shoes. My girlfriend just moved in with me a couple of weeks ago. My dog is pretty well trained, but shoes are his weakness. I've tried everything to get him to stop chewing shoes, but ultimately I decided to just not leave shoes lying around anymore and always put them away. This worked well when I lived on my own, but the front closet isn't big enough for all of my girlfriend's shoes, so they've been sitting in bins since she moved. She's on vacation with her friends right now and I made her a nice walk-in closet or makeup room in our bedroom as a surprise since there wasn't enough closet room in our house for both of our stuff. I brought all of her shoes up yesterday to try and figure out the shelving spacing and forgot to put the lids back on the bins before I left for work. I got home this morning to find every single shoe she owns entirely destroyed by my dog. Only a couple of shoes look like they could be fixable, but there isn't even one pair that remains wearable. My dog was quite proud of himself. My girlfriend is the type of person who is very methodical with her clothing and shoes. Everything she owns has been carefully selected, brands have been researched thoroughly, and she takes immaculate care of her things. That is to say, they are all pretty expensive, from $100 to $500 per pair, and in perfect condition. There are over 30 pairs of shoes, and I've estimated the cost of replacing the ones I can find new online at $6,000, and that doesn't include some of the brands that I don't recognize and can't find online, or some that are no longer being sold. I don't know where to go from here. I found around 20 pairs of the shoes online in the exact style that she had, and I'm wondering if I should order those now and hope they get here before she gets home. Obviously, there's no hiding this, but I'm wondering if it would make her feel better to have some shoes to choose from. I am pretty sure that if I told her to spend the amount in damages on new shoes, she wouldn't, because we're saving up to buy a new house and she'd instead put the money towards that. But I know she would be sad about not having all the choices that she had before. Any advice? Oof, OP, you are in some kind of a pickle here, I would say. It's not pretty, but I don't think it's gonna cost you the relationship. Or at least I wouldn't think so, hopefully not. In any case, here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. If I were gonna buy any shoes right away, I would buy some comfortable shoes for her to have when she comes back. And then I would tell her exactly what happened, how it went down, and ask her what she would like to do. If she would like to get all new shoes, you're in for that. If she just wants a few shoes, you're in for that too. Anything she wants regarding shoes. And regarding your dog, OP, you say your dog is pretty well trained. Does this mean that you kind of set the rules for the house, or does this mean that your dog is trained, like with a trainer and follows commands and all of that? I'm kinda guessing it's not the latter, and that's why your dog hasn't stopped eating shoes. Maybe you've tried everything you can come up with or read online and it's just not working because you can't deliver the training properly, OP. Maybe take your dog to dog school. So yeah, OP, in summary, just come out clean right away and ask her what she wants to do, offer all of the resources necessary to make her whole, and get your dog some proper training. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Claire Bones says, what you actually need to do is not about the shoes. What you need to do is find a way to train your dog not to destroy her shoes, or else to show her that you found a way to keep the dog away from the shoes. The shoes can be replaced, and obviously do so or offering to do so is a very nice gesture, but I think the important thing here is showing that you want to solve the problem. Like you said, you're saving for a house, so you cannot afford to constantly replace shoes, rather than coming up with a more permanent solution. And once again, somebody who doesn't know that vows exist says, honestly, I would tell her about it before you do anything. Trying to replace the shoes before she gets home seems sneaky, even if you do tell her what happened. And I've got an equal number of shoes I like which are in good condition, but in my case, good condition often means worn twice. She might want to get entirely new styles, so just make it very clear to her that you intend to replace them one way or the other. That you've done your research and estimated the cost, and you're willing to fast-track the purchase of some immediate replacements. And Mad Domestic Scientist says, I would hold off on ordering anything. Wait until she gets back and can participate. My reasoning being that, say you order all of those shoes. There may be a pair or two in there she secretly hates and never wears. Might as well give the monetary value so she can replace those shoes with some she likes. I have a ton of shoes, and if something destroyed them all, I guarantee there's a pair or two I could care less about. Alright, well, the community is giving OP a lot of different things to think about, from his dog to the shoes to how to tell the girlfriend. So now let's move on to the update to see what OP did next and how this story ends. I'm getting a surprising number of PMs asking for an update, so here it is. The general consensus from my first post was that I should buy a few essential pairs before she gets home, so I decided to go with that. It was hard because where we live, we are transitioning from winter to summer, so I had to buy winter boots, rain boots, sandals, runners, and various types of work shoes. Only about half of them arrived before she got home on Friday. I wish I could have bought them in person so I could have been sure they would be here, but I wasn't able to since winter stuff is out of season and lots of the brands she likes are only available online. Friday, I picked her and her friends up from the airport. When we got a second of alone time, I told her about the shoe situation. She was pissed initially. She wasn't mad at me or our dog, but more mad that it happened. I decided not to tell her about the fabulous closet that I built her while she was gone and just hoped that the surprise would soften the blow. On the car ride back, she told her friends what happened, and they really helped turn it into a positive event that she could laugh about. She would only get sad when she remembered shoes that she had spent a long time breaking in. Apparently, her Birkenstocks took 2 full summers before they reached max comfiness, so that was what she was most sad about. I feel effing awful about that. I actually took those ones to a cobbler because I knew she would be most upset about them, but they couldn't be salvaged. They were too far gone. When we got home, she wanted to see the carnage. I wasn't sure it was a good idea because I was kind of expecting her to cry, but she just thought it was funny. She had me make a small pine casket for the shoes while she and her friends got absolutely blasted, and we buried them in the backyard that night. She did cry briefly at the funeral, but she was a trooper nonetheless. Her friends decided it was only fair for me to purchase every pair of shoes she wants for the rest of our lives, and I drunkenly agreed. A decision that I'm sure will cost me a small fortune, but I stand by it all the same. Over the past few days, she has ordered all of the shoes she needed to replace the ones she lost. She only reordered around 10 pairs that she previously owned, so it was a good thing I didn't go ahead and reorder all of them. She already had a Pinterest of every pair she wanted and was deemed worthy of her collection, making it a relatively quick process. It cost around twice what I had anticipated, but she didn't break up with me, so I'll call it a win. I'm just glad I was able to afford it. I couldn't imagine how awful it would be to be in this position without being able to pony up. It's going to set me back a few months on buying an engagement ring, but I'm sure that won't be an issue. For everyone concerned about the dog, she isn't worried about getting him trained more because he behaves perfectly otherwise. She said if anything, I need to be trained not to be a careless idiot. Joking aside, it was a fluke, and we're usually excellent about keeping the shoes put away. I made the doors to her closet and our front closet self-closing, so we never need to worry about leaving them open. Like my girlfriend, the poor guy can't resist shoes, so we don't really blame him for what happened. In fact, we are pretty proud of what he managed to accomplish in the 12 hours I was away. Oh, and for those wondering if she liked the closet, well, she liked it so much that we had sexy times in it. Winky face. Well, OP, it sounds like a keeper. I mean, your dog destroyed her whole collection of shoes and she took it like a trooper. Sure, she could have had a meltdown, she could have been really upset or angry, or she could have made you foot the whole bill. But no, and she wasn't mad at the dog, she wasn't screaming or anything, claiming that you need to do something with it or whatever. So of course, I'm gonna call this a happy update. Not so happy for those shoes, but well, they're gone. So here's wishing you both and your dog all the best in the future. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.